Hello, my name is Jonathan Smith. This is a video clip on my group leading report that I did. I selected anger. We had 3 male students and 4 female students from Florida Gulf Coast University. The setting was at my house. It was supposed to be at FGCU, but it didn't work out. The students were sophomores and seniors. Um, the duration of the group meeting was on August 9th, like I say, my house at noon, just in our living room setting, and it lasted about an hour and 15 minutes. The objective was to talk about anger, explain that it's a normal human reaction, everybody experiences it, discuss the different types of anger and how to handle those anger situations. And that's the introduction of my group, with me in my living room. My wife was with me also, and I talked about. I introduced myself, and I talked about my life experiences, foster home, my school life, which was on the volatile side, which had given me some anger issues. My 27 years in the Marine Corps, my motivation for being a child protective investigator. I just have this thing about bad guys, and I don't like personally when people subject their will over other people's wills, and do negative things towards them. It gets under my skin like it's in it, like I can't even put into words. So I come from an area. This was during my introduction. Um, that is a very angry area, and I've dealt with this my entire life. And after I introduced myself, I asked the students if they could each stand up and tell me a little bit about themselves. What were their sophomores, what their plans, what their degrees were in, what their home life was like. Are they living in a dorm? Uh, what was the relationship with their friends? And to start thinking about specific anger issues that they have that we can discuss. And they went all the way around, and I kind of, the leadership style, I kind of like led, but I was trying to develop a relationship with them also, as much as I possibly could. I did not want to get off track. We talked about the different types of anger issues. We talked about the explosive anger issue, which is what most people see. Very explosive. I mean, I gave an example of 2 motorcyclists riding in California at night, and one gave the guy a hand gesture, and before you know it, they got into a fist fight right in the middle of the street. Classic example of explosive. Self-abuse. I talked about when I was a child protective investigator. I did a lot of self-disclosure. I had to go to a facility where girls cut themselves, and they cut themselves because of things that were done to them, not because of things that they did, and it was heartbreaking. And I talked about avoidance issues, which was pretty interesting because a couple of the girls discussed that that's an issue that they have. They would rather avoid confrontation than deal with it head on. Sarcasm, believe it or not, it's okay if you're late, honey. Me and the kids just read the menu 24 times while we were waiting for that kind of thing. Passive aggressive, and then we just sat down and took a break. and let them think for a few minutes, and discuss, what type of issues that they had and how to. Initially, when the group came in, they were quiet, reserved, really didn't say much, separated themselves, and were kind of passive. I kind of like to get things going. I mean, I kind of like to have a reaction. I like to shock, or not necessarily shock, but I like to throw stuff out there, kind of hardball stuff, so I can get some really genuine feedback, because that makes for an enjoyable class, and it also makes for an excellent learning experience. I've done this for a lot of years, and so for me, it's effective, a very effective tool. So I self-disclose significantly, mostly negative too, because it gets a lot of chuckles, opens up the class. This is a group of students. Probably I should not have picked a group of students, because they typically just say yes, yes, okay, write it down, okay, regurgitate it, take the test, that kind of thing. And that's how I felt initially, after I talked about myself and I asked for them to introduce themselves, very morose, and kind of reserved and kind of quiet. And, um, uh, so my choice of the group was probably not the best choice, but I had limited time, and the group that I picked initially backed out on me, so I had what I had. After we talked about the different type of anger issues, I gave them, a handout on different types of tools. Like the timeout tool is an excellent tool. Definitely works with kids. You can remove what they love, like TV and computers, but timeout, some it drives kids insane, and it's a very effective tool. Same thing with two adults that are warring. But both the couple has to agree on 24 hours, 12 hours, and not break that time limit, for this, for it to be effective. Um, the handout had a lot of examples of scenarios, hot thoughts and cool thoughts. Hot thoughts, what you would say in snap anger issues, and cool thoughts were more de-escalating. And so the handout that I gave them and that they filled out, they gave them a few examples, and then they gave them scenarios, and they put the hot thoughts that they would use if this occurred to them, and then their cool thoughts. And they we discussed lightly um, their responses to the handout. The most important takeaways um, for me is I had higher expectations for the end product. However, it was an initial meeting, and I wanted it to be more open than it was. People had that barrier around themselves, and I wanted to get rid of that barrier. I wanted much more self-disclosure, and I didn't get it. It was an initial meeting, and I would love to follow on with this group, and them being comfortable, me being comfortable with them, me getting much more self-disclosure so I can relate to them and start diving into those areas. This was not an easy thing for me, because I kind of are in your face, and it didn't seem to work with this group. Um, uh, but if I had to say one thing, in conclusion, it would be that people will open up. It's going to take some time. I love getting in front of people and hearing true stories, true feelings, genuineness, pulling that out. I did not get that feeling with an initial